Myself Padmaja, Associate Professor, Department of CEC, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Now, today we are going to discuss about control statements in Python. Now, first of all, what do you mean by control statement and how many control statements are there in Python? Let us see. So, the control statements are also known as the loop structures or iterative statements. Now, loops are used to repeat a set of statements or a single statement based on a condition. Now, when the condition is true, then the set of statements are repeatedly executed. When the condition becomes false, it will stop the loop. Now, there are mainly two types of loops in Python. One is called for loop and another one is called while loop. And these loops are also used or also works as an iterator to iterate over the sequences. That is, the sequence can be a list or a set, or it can be a tuple or a dictionary or a string. So it also iterates over a sequence. So that's why the loops are, for loop is popularly works as an iterator. Similarly, while loop can also be used as an iterator. Now let us start with the for loop. So first of all, for loop, it is used to execute a set of statements repeatedly until a particular condition is true. Otherwise, it can iterate over a list or string or dictionary or tuple or any sequence over a period of time. Now, for example, what is the syntax of for loop? First of all, let's see the syntax. For variable in range. Now, you can use the range function which takes three arguments: start value, stop value, and the step size. Now, it can iterate over this. That means starting from the start value, it will continue repeating the setup statement until it reaches to the stop value. Similarly, if you want to iterate over a sequence, you can write for element in sequence. So, for all the elements in the sequence, it will execute a set of statements or it will print the elements from the sequence. Now, let us see a simple example of for loop, how to write a for loop. For example, we want to use the range function. So, if I want to display the numbers from 1 to 10, I can write for I in range 1, 11, 1. So, here the start value is 1, the start value is 1, and the stop value is 11. That means it will iterate up to 10. 11 minus 1, it will iterate up to 10. And the step size is also 1 here. So, it will, starting from the number 1, it will display the numbers because there is a print statement. It will display the numbers up to 10. When I reaches to 11, the loop is going to stop. Now, here we'll see another example where if you see the output, the output is displayed here vertically. That means 1 to 10, the numbers are displayed vertically. If you want to see the same output horizontally, then you can use the end here. So end is equal to give a space. So if you give a space, then the output will be displayed by giving a space in between. So here the same output, the loop is iterating from 1 to 11. That means 1 to 10 will be displayed. When I becomes 11, it is going to stop and the outputs are separated by space. Now, let us see one more example. If you will give start value and stop value without giving the step size, then by default, the step size will be taken as 1 only because the default step size in the range function is 1 only. Okay, so here you will get the same output. 1 to 10 is displayed without mentioning the step size. Now, in another example, here I didn't mention the start value and stop value. Start value and step value is not mentioned, but only the stop value is mentioned. This is only the stop value is mentioned. So, by default, the default value for start is 0 and the default value for step is 1. So, the output will be from 0 to 10. So, it will start displaying from I value 0 and it will go up to 10. When I becomes 11, this loop is going to stop. So, this is the way the range function can be used. So, to use the range function, at least the stop value you must provide. But start and step are not compulsory. These are optional. If you want, you can provide. Otherwise, it takes the default values. Now, let us see how the for loop works as an iterator. Suppose we want to take a list and we want to display the elements of the list. So, here we have taken a list. So, here list is a collection of mixed type of values. So, it contains mixed type of values here. Now, I want to iterate the list and I want to display the elements of the list. So you can see a for loop is used for I in LST. So here this is a list or this is known as a sequence. So it will iterate till all elements of the list is over. So it will take the first element starting from index number 0 because in a list is an ordered collection. So it will start taking the elements from index number 0, then 1, 2 and so on. And when it reaches to the last element, then this loop is automatically going to stop. So for I in list, so it will print each element, print the value of I and separated by a space. So here first element is 10, second element is 20 and so on. All the elements are displayed from the list. So this is called that how for loop works as an iterator. Now let us see a similar example. So here instead of taking a list, we can take also a tuple, and tuple is also a heterogeneous collection of comma separated values. So using a for loop, we can iterate over a tuple and display the elements of the tuple. So we can say that a for loop also works as an iterator for a tuple also. So you can see the similar example. So here one tuple is defined, which is a comma separated value of items. Now for I in tuple, because in tuple also the items are in order. So it is ordered. So we can use indexing. So it will take the first item at index number 0, then 1 and so on. So I in tuple 1, so this is a sequence and it displays each item at present at that index. So you can see the output is the space separated elements or the values of the tuple. Now let us discuss another example where how to use the for loop or how for loop works as an iterator for a set also. Now a set is a collection of mixed type of values, but in a set the elements are not in order. It is an unordered collection of items. So we cannot say which element is going to be displayed first, then which element is second and so on. The ordering is unordered collection. So if you write a for loop and will display the contents of the set, so it will display the items in random order. So you can see here first item is a string, second item is a boolean value, but in the original set it is in a different order because it is unordered collection. So the output will vary. Now let us see the last example on dictionary. That means how the for loop works on a dictionary, how it iterates over a dictionary. Now here we have defined a dictionary with a set of items here. Key value pairs are there. Now for every key, so I takes every key in the dictionary. So here I works on the keys. Okay. So for every key in the dictionary, it displays that key and also it displays the value for that key. So the dict of 1 of I, it gives the value for that key. So if you will simply write print of I, it is going to display only the keys present in this dictionary. Only the keys present in the dictionary. So if you want to display the keys and values of the dictionary, you have to write like this. Print the key value and also the value for that key. So you can see the output. The key value pairs are displayed from the dictionary. Now let us understand how for loop works by taking some real-time examples. For example, I want to count the number of vowels present in a string. So first of all, I have to read a string and I have to check that how many vowels are there and how many consonants are there. So let us see this example. Now, first of all, I am defining what is a vowel. So here I am defining that vowel is a string and it is the vowel may be the capital letters A, E, I, O, U or small letter. So I have defined the vowel as a string. Now, you can read your string, any string you can read. Here I have taken to read an email ID. For example, the email ID is xyz@gmail.com. For example, this is your input you want to read. Now, take initially the two variables to store the count of vowels and consonants. So, initial v is equal to 0 and c is equal to 0. Okay. Now, using a for loop, the for loop works as an iterator for a string in this case. So, for I in email is nothing but it is a string. It is a string and this variable iterates over the string until the string ends. So, it will iterate over the string. The string is xyz@gmail.com, and then it checks for every value of I, whether that value, first time the value of I is at index position 0, it is x. So it will check whether it is in this vowel list or not. So what is your vowel list? It is A, E, I, O, U, and this is the string. So it checks, the in is a membership operator which checks whether this particular character is present in this string or not. So if it is present, then the variable v will be incremented by 1. If it is not present, then automatically it goes to the else part and the variable c will be incremented by 1. So based on the true or false condition of the if, it will either increment the v variable or it will increment the c variable. So in this way, character by character, each character will be checked in this string, and then the number of consonants or vowels will be incremented. So when this loop is over, that means when this variable I will iterate over the complete string, then we will get our output and we will finally print that how many vowels are there and how many consonants are there in this string. So you can see here, if the input is xyz@gmail.com, then the number of vowels are 3 and the number of consonants are 10. So this way the normal for loop works. Now let us discuss the second kind of loop used popularly in Python, that is called while loop. Now in while loop, we will first test a condition. Based on the test condition, a set of statements or a block of statements will be executed. If the condition is false, then it will come out of the loop. Until that condition becomes true, it will execute repeatedly the block of statements which is written inside the while loop. Now, so the while loop syntax is while some condition. See, the condition is always evaluated to true or false. So if the condition is true, then the set of statements are repeatedly executed until that condition is true. When the condition becomes false, it will come out of the loop. So let us see some examples of while loop. Suppose you want to display the numbers from 1 to 10 using while loop. So how to write the program using while loop? Let us see first. So here I have taken a variable x is equal to 1, that is initial value of x is equal to 1, and I want to display the value of x from 1 to 10 using a while loop. So you write the condition while x less than 11, or you can write x less than is equal to 10. It is up to you. So both the cases it will iterate and it will display up to 10. So first we are printing the value of x. So initially the value of x is 1. So 1 will be printed. Then x is incremented by 1. So x is incremented by 1. So x becomes 2 next time. So again it will check the condition that 2 is less than equal to 11. So if it is true, then again 2 will be printed. Then x becomes 3. Again condition is checked. 3 is less than 11. Then 3 will be printed. And this process is repeated. When x reaches to 11, then the loop is going to stop. Now, similarly, a while loop can also be used or can also work as an iterator. So suppose to indicate this, I have taken a list over here, and using a while loop, how it works as an iterator, let us see this example. Suppose there is a list which is a collection of heterogeneous elements here. Now, while list, that means while the list is not an empty list, it contains some valid number of valid elements. So the list is always true. So here a list is true always. Okay. Now, so the loop will continue until starting from the first element to last element. So it iterates over all the elements. When it reaches to the end of the list, it stops. So while list, so list is true. So what we are doing, we are using the pop method. Okay. So internally, so we can use the pop method. So using the pop method, the last element will be displayed first, because internally it stores the element in the form of a stack. So whenever you will use indexing, then it will give you the elements from index number 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. That is one way of displaying the contents. The another way is using pop method. But whenever you will use the pop method, by default, the nature of the pop method is to display from top to bottom. That means, so true will come first, the last element, then A will come, then this complex number 5 plus 6A will come. So it will come in reverse order. So you can simply say that it will come in reverse order. So if you want to display in the order in which it is stored, that is also possible. So we have to use the indexing mechanism. So here I want to say that the for loop and while loop both can be used as an iterator for any sequence. And out of these two loops, for loops are popularly used and works as an iterator. Now, let us see the other uses of for while loop in real-time applications. So, see one example, how to calculate the sum and average of first 10 natural numbers. So, the question is how to calculate the sum and average of first 10 natural numbers, that is nothing but 1 plus 2 plus 3 up to 10. So, to find out the sum of 1 to 10 natural numbers and also average, let us see this program how to do it. So, to iterate the loop, so we will continue the loop. We are taking a looping variable I. So, initially the value of the variable I is equal to 1. And to store the sum, initially the sum is equal to 0 over here. Initially the sum is 0 where I am going to store my sum. Now, I want to find out the sum of first 10 natural numbers. So, I will run the loop up to 10 times. When I becomes 11, this loop is going to stop. First time I is equal to 1. So, 1 is less than is equal to 10. So, this condition is true. So, if the condition is true, then the setup statement, this is called the setup statement or block up statements inside the while loop. The block up statements will be repeatedly executed. So, first time the condition is true. So, S is equal to S plus I is going on. So, initially sum is equal to 0 plus I value is equal to 1. So, sum becomes your 1. Sum becomes 1. Now, next I is incremented to 2. Next I is incremented to 2. So, I value was initially 1. So, it becomes 2 here. Now, after updating the value of I, again it goes to the while loop. And now I value becomes 2. So, 2 is less than equal to 10. Yes, the condition is true. Again, it computes the sum value. So, in the next iteration, the sum value, earlier sum was 1 plus the I value is 2. So, the sum is 3 and the I value is updated to I plus 1. So, earlier I value was 2 plus 1, it is 3. So, after executing this 2 statement, again it goes back to while loop. Now, the value of I is 3. So, 3 is less than equal to 10? Yes. So, again the condition is true and the setup statements are executed. So, by repeating these statements 10 times, so every time sum is recomputed and I is updated. So, when the condition becomes false, it will come out of the while loop and it will display and it will compute the average. Average is nothing but sum divided by 10 because you have taken first 10 numbers. Then you print the sum value of first 10 natural numbers and also the average of 10 natural numbers. So, here the answer is 55 and 5.5 is the answer. So, this is the way a while loop works. Now, instead of giving the first 10 natural numbers, if the question is asked that you find out the sum of all the numbers from a particular range m to n range, then how will you do it? So, for that, first we have to read what is the range, what is the value for m and n. So, first you read the value of m. So, you read the value of m and you read the value of n. For example, the value of m is equal to 10 and n is equal to 20. That means I want to find out the sum of the numbers from 10 to 20. 10 to 20. So, here including m and including n. So, what is the sum I want to find out? So, here we have taken a sum variable. Initially, sum is equal to 0. Now, here we are writing while m is less than equal to n. What is the value of m? 10. Is less than equal to 20? Yes. So, if the condition is true, then compute the sum. Sum is equal to original sum is 0 plus m value, that is 10. So, sum is updated to 10 now. And then increment m value. So, it becomes m plus 1. So, which is nothing but 11. So, after computing these two values, which is inside the while loop, again the loop continues. So, next time m value is 11. 11 is less than equal to 20. Again the condition is true. Again it recomputes the sum. So earlier sum was 10 plus the new value of m is 11. So it becomes 21 and m is updated to your 11 plus 1 is 12. So this loop is continued for 10 times. When m becomes 21, the loop becomes false. So after that, we print the sum of the numbers from m to n range is the value which is collected in the variable s. So here the output of 10 plus 11 up to 20 is 165. So this is the way a while loop is used in Python. Similarly, in Python, control structures can be nested. Nested in the sense one loop can be nested inside the other. That means you can write a for loop inside a while loop or vice versa, or for within for, while within while, or for within while and while within for. In any way, and at you can do the nesting up to any level. So there is no restriction on that. So a nested loop is simply loop within loop. So inner loop will be executed one time for each iteration of the outer loop. So you can do nesting according to your choice. So both the loops can be intermingled and it can be nested. So you can see one syntax over here where loop within loop, for loop within for loop is written. So the inner loop is executed for one iteration of the outer loop. And similarly here in the syntax in the right hand side, the while within while is also written. So you can combine the loop within loop to any level of nesting you can perform. Now let us see one example. Now while performing the nesting, you can use the sequences or you can use the range function. It is up to you. Depending upon the application, you can make use of range function in the loops or you can use the sequences. Now here one example I have given where I have taken the sequence list. Okay. Now here there are some adjectives which are the list of names and there are some fruit names are there. Okay. Two lists are given. Now I want to display each of the fruit name along with all the adjectives. That means I want a red apple, then red banana, then red cherry, then big apple, big banana, then big cherry. So I want to do like this. Tasty apple, tasty banana and tasty cherry. So I want to do this combinations. So you can do this by writing a very small loop, simple for loop within for loop. For x in adjectives, for every x in adjectives, for every y in fruits, then print the value of x comma y. That means first time the value of x is red, suppose. Let us analyze how it works. First time the value of x is red. Then the y is iterating over the fruits. So y is iterating over the fruits for first time. The value of y is apple. So it prints red apple. Okay. Now again the inner loop continues because all the elements of the fruits are not over. So the second element is banana. So now the y value is banana. So for that x value is same. So it is red only. So it will display red banana. Again third time for the inner loop is continuously running for 3 times for all elements. Now the third time the value of y will be cherry. So it will display the outer loop value of x is same. So it will display red cherry. So once the execution of the inner loop is over, then again it goes to the outer loop. So second time the value of x will be changed to big. Then again inner loop continues for big apple, big banana and big cherry. Third time the outer loop is x value will be tasty. So again it will run for tasty apple, tasty banana and tasty cherry. So like that the for loop works in Python. So this is called usage of nested loop for the list. Now similarly, if you want to display any pattern, whether it is a number pattern or any pattern in any shape, then the for loop within loop is highly necessary. Now, for example, I want to print the string pattern in the triangular form. So what I have to do? So here the string pattern I want to display for 4 lines. So here in the outer for loop, I am writing for I in range of 1, 4. That means the start value is 1 and stop value is 5, because you know that if your stop value is 5, then it will work 4 times, then it will stop. So it is always stop minus 1. So for every j value in the range of I, first time I value equal to 1 and j value is equal to 1. So it will display the star. So print what you want to display, it will display 1 star. Then after that it goes to the outer for loop again. Now I becomes 2 and this inner loop will run 2 times and it will display 2 stars. Then third time I becomes 3. So for if the I value is incremented to 3, then this inner loop is running 3 times. So 3 stars are displayed. Like that, fourth time also, when I value increments to 4, then the inner loop also runs 4 times. So it displays 4 stars. So this is the way the patterns are displayed using the for loop. So these are the 2 examples on nested for loops. Similarly, you can write while loop within while loop. Let us see one example how while loops can be nested. Now suppose you want to display the multiplication table from 2 to n. Okay. So 2 to n. So here I have taken n value to be 5. So I want to display the multiplication tables from 2 to 5. So the outer loop is that which numbers multiplication table you want to display. That is, my outer loop works in that way. And the inner loop is how to compute the multiplication table. So for every number, how it computes the multiplication number, you have to write the logic in the inner loop. So let us see, enter the value of n. So I have told that it is from 2 to n. So I have taken I is equal to 2. Starting number is 2 and I is equal to 2. And n is the value I am reading, that I want to display the multiplication table up to 5 or 10. So I want to display up to 5, for example here. Now, while in the outer loop, I less than equal to n. So here 2 is less than equal to n. So this condition is true. If this condition is true, then for first print the ith table, I value is 2 table. That means first we are going to display the 2 table. Okay. Now, for how to display the 2 table, for that you have to compute. 2 1 is 2, 2 2 is 4 and so on, you have to compute 10 times. So for that we have written a while loop, and that while loop, while true, so the loop is always true, we are doing I into j. We are doing I into j. J value we have taken is 1, so it becomes 2 into 1. So 2 into 1 value will be displayed. Then j is incremented by 2, so it will be I is fixed over here. J is every time incremented to 1, 2, 3, so on. So we have written a condition to break the loop, that if j greater than 10, up to 10 it is no problem. If j is greater than 10, when j becomes 11, so 2 into 3 and so on it is doing. So when j reaches to 11, then break the loop. So it will come out of the inner loop. Okay. When you will come out of the inner loop, the statement is there is a empty space and followed by I you are incrementing to 3. I is incremented to I plus 1. So I becomes 3. Now when I is incremented, again it goes back to the beginning of the while loop. That means 2 stable is printed. Now we are going to print the 3 stable. Again you check the condition. 3 is less than equal to 5. Yes. I is less than equal to n. Yes. Then print 3 table. Then again take j is equal to 1, and in this inner while loop it is displaying I into j value. So every time 3 into 1, 3 into 2, 3 into 3, this will be continued. When j becomes 11, it will break the loop and I value will be incremented to 4. Again this process will be repeated until the outer loop condition becomes false. So this is the way a nested while loop works in Python. Now, there is one more way that you can do the nesting of a loop inside the if-else statements also. So, see the syntax. So, inside the while loops or inside the loops, you can do the nesting of if-else, or inside the if-else also, you can do nesting of loops. For example, you can see example here, the syntax here, if condition, test condition is there. If this condition is true, then some statements are executed. Then you can execute a loop inside. If the test condition is true, you can execute a loop. Similarly, if the test condition is false, then you will come to else part and you can execute another loop. So here we can say that the while loops or any kind of loops are nested inside the if else statement. So you can write if else, any level of nesting you can do, and you can write multiple conditions also using if else also. So you can do this nesting for you can take a while loop or you can take a for loop, and you can do the nesting vice versa. That means while within, inside the while you can write if else conditions, or inside if else you can write on the loops. Now let us see one example how it is working. Suppose the same example I can show you that how to display the tables from 2 to n. So to display one table, suppose I want to display the fifth table. Okay, 5 table I want to display. So I'm reading the value of n, and if you want you can show all the tables also from 2 to 5. Okay, so here if the n value is greater than 0, that is 5 is greater than 0, yes it is true, then you have written the same logic to display the table. So first time n into j, that means 5, j equal to 1 you have taken, I is equal to 5, and j value you are starting here from 1. So you are doing n into j, that means 5 into j. Then j is incremented, so I is constant, j is incremented every time. This will continue up to 10. So when j reaches to 11, this will break the loop. Okay, and when it will come out of this loop, okay, there is a slash n here. So if you will take a negative value, suppose I am taking -5 for n, then -5 is greater than 0. No, it is false. So directly it will jump to else part. It will come to else part and it will display this message, read positive values for n only. That means for negative values we cannot compute the table. So just a message is displayed. So you can see over here, inside a if else a loop is written. So inside an else part also, depending upon the application, you can write a loop also. So this way the nested while loop inside an if else statement can be written. Now the very popular two keywords we have, that is called break and continue statements, and these statements are used commonly in your control statements. So that is in your loops. Now this statement, break statement, whenever it is encountered, then it immediately breaks the loop and comes out of the loop. Okay. Now if the break statement is present inside a nested loop, then it comes out of the innermost loop. Okay. Similarly, a continue statement is used to skip the current loop iteration and it goes to the beginning of the loop. So the control, if you write a continue statement, it skips the current loop iteration and goes to the beginning of the loop, and the condition is again reevaluated and the loop continues. So let us see how these break and continue statements are used. Now you can see one example here. While expression, that means one condition is there. If this condition is true, if this expression is evaluated to true, then while loop continues. So after executing few of the statement, whenever the break statement is encountered, then immediately control comes out of the loop. Okay, but otherwise, suppose break statement is not there, then normally the execution of the statements continues. Whenever a continue statement is encountered, then it skips the remaining part of the loop iteration. So it skips that and again jumps or goes back to the beginning of the while loop, and it re-evaluates the test expressions. Again, if it is true, then it continues. That means after continue, these two statements are there. If there is a continue statement occurs, then it goes to the beginning of the loop and these statements are skipped. Again, it re-evaluates the condition and it again continues the loop. Now, similarly, the same thing I have shown in this diagram also, that you can use a continuous statement inside a for or inside a while loop. So whenever the continuous statement encounters or continuous statement is encountered, then it goes to the top of the loop and loop continues. Now let us see the examples of break statement first. Now suppose I want to read a list of integers, and so how my break statement works for reading the inputs. Now here I want to do whenever I am giving some integers, then it must accept, and whenever I'll give other than integers any characters or string a value I am giving, then it should stop. So for reading the inputs, I want to use a break statement. It is every time checking that if the input is integer, then the loop continues, otherwise it will come out of the loop. It will break the loop if other than integer anything else you will type. Now anything non-numeric value if you will type. Let us see how this program works. Suppose we have taken an empty list over here. The input list is initially empty. Now write a while loop or for loop, any loop you can write. So here one while loop is written. So we are reading the data. So at a time one data value you are reading, and then you are checking. Suppose first time 10 you are reading, data is 10. Then you are checking this data is numeric. You are using the function numeric and checks. So this function will return true or false. If the data is numeric, then it will return true. So if the data is numeric, then it is appended to the list. Using the append function or using the append method, the data value 10 is appended to the list. So 10 is appended to the list first. Similarly, again it will read, because the while loop is true, continuously it is an infinite loop, again it will read the second data. Suppose the second time data you have entered is 20. Again it checks. If it is numeric, then it appends to the list. So this process continues. But whenever you will enter some string, suppose I am entering some string Rama here, or you will enter some other value which is not numeric, then this condition becomes false. If the condition is false, then automatically it is break. It will come to else part, and there is a statement called break the loop. Okay, so it will break the loop, and finally we are printing what are the elements we have stored into the list. So for number in input list, it will go on printing all the elements in the list. So you can see the output. This is the list output we have shown over here. So this way a break statement is used in a list. Similarly, how to use a continuous statement. Let us see this example. Suppose you want to print only the consonants present in a string. Now, and if there is a vowel, then you want to skip it. So first you read a string, and we have defined the vowel as a set of characters, which is a string over here. So for every character in the string, you check whether it is present in the vowel list. If it is present, then simply continue the loop. If it is present, then simply continue the loop. That means do nothing. Again continue the loop. Check for the next character. If the next character is in the vowels list, again continue. If it is not in the vowels list, then come to else part and you print that characters. So in this way, what will happen? For an input string, for example, if you are taking the input as the Python programming, so it will check character by character. First it will check P, then Y, then T, then H. Each character is checked in this vowels list. And if it is not present, then those characters are only printed. That means only it prints the consonants present in the string, and it skips the vowels using the continuous statement. Now, in Python, you can use an else statement with the loops also. Like normally, the else statements are used along with the if condition. If the condition fails, it goes to else part. Similarly, if a condition fails in the loops, then you can jump to the else part. So else part or else statement can be used with the loops also. Let us see how to use. So Python allows an optional else clause at the end of the for loop or while. Let us see the syntax. While condition, if the condition is true, then the block of statements are executed. If the condition becomes false, then another block of statements are executed. So just like the simple if else statement, you can write the else statement inside the loop. As a part of the loop. Similarly in a for loop also an else part can be added. So this is a unique feature which is available in Python. Now, let us see one example with the else part used with the loops. For example, I want to display the numbers from 10 to 1 using while loop. So, first, let me take the value of n is equal to 10. If the number 10 is greater than 0, the condition I have written, 10 is greater than 0, yes, it is true. If it is true, then print that number, print the value of n, so 10 will be printed. Then n is decremented by n minus 1, so now the number becomes 9. And the process continues. Again, 9 is greater than 0, yes, it is true. Then it will print 9. Then it will print 8. Every time the number is printed and number is decremented by 1. So this process continues. When the number reaches to 0, then this condition, the while loop condition, becomes false. If the while loop is false, then it immediately comes to the else part. When the condition becomes false, it will come to else part and it will display a message that loop is over. Similarly, the else statement you can write in a dictionary or in any sequence also. For example, if you want to iterate over a list, suppose this is a list, okay? So, the for loop is iterating over a list and displaying the elements of the list. So, when the contents of the list is over, you can come to else part and you can display one message that loop is over. Now, there is another statement which is used with the loops, that is called the pass statement. So, the pass statement performs no action and it just serves as a placeholder in Python. So if you want that your loop should be syntactically correct, but if you do not want to do any action, then you can simply use a pass statement in Python. So here, let us see one example of pass statement for number in a list. So you are taking each number from the list and you are checking whether that number is odd number or even number. That is, number modulus 2 is equal to 0. If it is an even number, then you are writing that pass. That means do nothing. Okay. Now, this process continues and only the odd numbers will be printed, because when number modulus 2 is equal to 1, then the if condition is false and it will come to else part and it will print that number. So in this process, only the odd numbers are displayed from the list. That means here the simple pass statement is written to say that it is just a placeholder and it is not doing any action. So this way pass statements are used in loops. So thank you so much. Today we discuss about the control statements in Python. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.